Hello, hi there, welcome. Welcome
Hey!
along.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, Ellen, are you excited?
Yeah!
Are you excited about the new Assassin's Creed game?
Yeah!
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It has been announced. There is a cinematic trailer which you can see on screen now.
Yeah!
Unfortunately, we can't play that in its sort of full glory because it has licensed music. So,
Yeah!
so unfortunately, you can just look at it.
Look how pretty it is. Ooh.
It is. It does look very pretty. So
nice pre-rendered stuff.
yeah. So it gives us our first look at the new Assassin's Creed game, which is Vikings,
Yeah.
set partially in Norway, partially in England. You can see on screen now that even when the Vikings are burning the villages, the English are still the villains.
English is still the bad guy.
The English
the
are.
hell?
Well, it's the accent. What can I say? Oh, there we go. Good.
I think we should take real offence to that.
I think we would.
We are delightful. Excuse me. I get complimented on my accent a lot. So
we have our moments. But anyway, so on this stream or on this video, if you're watching on demand, we're basically going to be talking about the 7 things that we need to see, because while we have got our first look at the game, there's still so many questions. We basically don't know much yet about the gameplay, about what form it's going to take, but we do have, or rather Ellen has, very strong opinions on all of those things. So
I do indeed.
Cool. So I think we'll kick off in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Angel Beat says we're going to need an Ellen and Zoe Geek Out stream now. That's the
yeah, Zoe from Eurogamer is also a big fan. I've bonded with her over that. Yeah. It's good.
We're probably not going to be checking in too much with the chat as we go, just because we've got so much to cover. So much stuff. But we'll check in at the end because we do want to know what everyone's thoughts are, how everyone's feeling about the new game. All right, so Ellen, are you ready to move on? Are you ready to begin with our first talking point?
I believe so.
Okay.
And I'll try not to punch my microphone.
Always professionals.
Oh, we're ready!
Well, we got out of that alive. So
ready yourselves! Let's board the bastards!
Okay, Ellen, so the Assassin's Creed games are all about boat combat, right?
Yeah, well, since it was introduced in 3, and then they went all out with Black Flag, which I have been streaming. If you've never seen or played Black Flag, or you would like to relive it, we regularly stream it on Outside Xtra here. Do come watch. But it's become a really regular thing that you go around in boats and you have fights in boats, depending on the time period. So in Black Flag, it was mostly cannons and stuff because it was later on pirates and advanced technology that we all had. And then going back in time, it was in Origins as well. There were boat sections, and in Odyssey especially, there was a lot of ship combat where you had your arrows, you had your spears, and you had various upgrades to those as you went on, but it was all very, of the time. And lots of ramming into ships. That was a real big thing in Odyssey. But yeah, in Origins, there was that. They still, because it was made by this game is going to be made by the same people who made Black Flag and Origins.
Okay.
Which is Ubisoft Montreal. And they must have loved making Black Flag, because even when they set a game in Egypt, they were like, but we'll have sea sections though, right? Like the nice open water bits. We'll put iron on a ship. And,
of course. You gotta.
And it's a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed that wonderful one section where you're just like, yeah, let's take down some boats and we're helping the Creed and all that sort of stuff, or the hidden one.
Here's the thing though, is it? I know that it's become a big part of Assassin's Creed. Is it something that we definitely want in the new game? Is it that good? I haven't played many of the recent ones. Is the ship combat? You're nodding in a. Oh yes, Luke. It's that. Yeah, it's that good.
There's a reason why. Because for those of you who might have forgotten, Ubisoft did announce a game called Skull and Bones, which was basically the ship combat.
Did that not come out?
No, what? I don't know when the hell that is coming out.
Okay,
Ubisoft, please tell us that. And yeah, because it is really good, and the thing is, it does split the Assassin's Creed community a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Because there are people who just want to go around doing assassinations and don't care about the boats, and then there's the people who've gone, actually though, the boat stuff is really good. I felt when I was playing Assassin's Creed 3, I was slightly underwhelmed by the main body of the game, but then the ship sections, just because they were something different and not as watered down as I felt the rest of the game was.
Watered down. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, that was a good catch. Good catch. Fishing. Like, I think they were some of the most fun things. It was so innovative, and I don't think, you shouldn't have innovation for innovation's sake, but they were really fun. And it's something that I really enjoy, and once you get good at it, you feel really quite cool. Like, I think some footage here is like me, slightly lower level, going up against a higher level ship at one point, and then cleaning it in two, and I'm just like, yeah, I did it. I beat a legendary ship, and woo, I feel good about it. And it's just good. And the fact that there's the possibility of doing that with Vikings, like in the trailer, there's the bit where they're all like, shields up because of the arrows.
Shields up, red alert, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be back. It looks a little bit like there's going to be maybe like beach landing on it. I'm not sure. There was a little bit where they were kind of like dragging people through the water.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether there's going to be that like bridging over water. But I want to see this combat in longboats with Vikings, like throwing things at each other.
But here's the thing though, because when ship combat was introduced in Black Flag, it made perfect sense because it's a pirate game, and pirates, as I'm led to believe, are all about that boat life.
Yeah.
But then when it came back in Origins and Odyssey, it was still fun, but it felt like it was starting to strain the historical credibility a little bit when all of that like destruction and fire and ramming and things was all happening with arrows. So like, do you think that the Norse setting will support that kind of like mass naval conflict, do you think?
I think so. I did have a look up online of historic naval battles to do with Vikings.
Excellent.
And I found some that I will try and pronounce correctly.
Yeah, go on, Ellen. I'm looking at this word now. I can't wait to see you give it a go.
There's the Battle of Helga.
Sure.
I am assuming.
Sure.
It's got a little accent thing above the A.
Yeah.
There's this next one, the Battle of Hjörungavágr.
Hjörungavágr. It could well be that. But that's interesting though, that there were actual sort of naval conflicts in Viking times. And
the thing is, to get to England, like all of this conquering came from, like, England's been conquered goodness knows how many times over history, and it's all been to do with boats. They have to get here by boats because we've got the sea surrounding us. That's why we've had weirdly a tactical advantage in many moments in history, even though we still end up being conquered every once in a while.
Sure.
And
the long I'm looking at a delightful stock image that you've sourced, Ellen, of some Viking longships. They look a lot more compact than the boats even that you get in Origins or Odyssey. But I quite like that. I like the idea of them being sort of like smaller, more maneuverable. Yeah,
I think they're going to be. So in Odyssey, you had the big boat, the Odessa, that you look after, and then you had the smaller boats that you would find around, that you just kind of use to hop from island to island or get to another part of the island quickly by the sea. And I think the longboats will be somewhere in between. I believe if we're able to have it up, there's an image of a longboat next to a castle that Ubisoft sent us.
I think I've got that.
If we could get that, and you can kind of see by the figures on the boat kind of how big that's probably going to be. So going to be bigger than the little single person ships, but definitely not the size of the Odessa.
It's one of these screenshots. I'm just going to go through all of them. They've all got crazy file names that I can't make head nor tail of.
It's 45115.
Oh, sure. A classic of the genre.
495.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I think I've got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like the idea of it being sort of something. It looks... I'm almost getting like a Wind Waker vibe from the size of that ship. Like something that you can kind of hop on and hop off of.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And you've got your crew. I'm wondering if, like in Black Flag, you'll be able to build up a fleet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So people who've been watching my Black Flag streams, you capture ships and then you add them to your fleet. That might be a thing that happens in a slightly different manner because it's not really capturing boats. But yeah, I am very excited. Also, oh my goodness, I've just spotted in that screenshot there's puffins. That's literally one of the things that I wanted. Yeah, there's on that rock. There's puffins.
You specifically wanted puffins.
I specifically wanted puffins.
Wow. Well, then you got really lucky.
Well, no, it's because Northumberland coastline, right?
Oh, right.
Puffins,
I see. Okay, cool. Right.
For those of you who don't know what puffins are, they're the reason porgs exist.
Ellen, people know what puffins are. You don't need to explain puffins.
Yeah, but puffins are they're unique to the UK. So some people might be like, why is she saying the word puffin a lot? Everyone knows every single species.
They've got puffins. Puffins are in the people have got puffins.
They're like toucans, but they've had the bills kind of shaved down. Yeah.
Yeah, the people who live around there file down the beaks. It's pretty cruel.
Literally just spotted that.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
There's another thing I spotted later. But...
That was a good spot. Puffins confirmed.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm very happy about that.
Okay, Ellen. I want to move on. So, are you alright if I move us on to our next thing that we desire?
Oh, also, before we go on.
Yeah.
I want Viking chants.
Oh, like sea shanties, like you had in Black Flag.
So we had the sea shanties in Black Flag,
and
then in both, mostly in Odyssey, you had them singing. You had your crew singing songs still as well. So I want all of the music as you're sailing along in your Viking boat.
Nice.
Good Viking tunes, please.
I wonder what a Viking chant would sound like. I'm sure I could find something approximating it.
It'll be like Skyrim.
Oh yeah, or just like some intense metal maybe, just as you're sailing along. Yeah. Yeah. Speed metal to sail to. Yeah, that's the vibe. All right. All right. I think that when we're talking about speed metal to sail to, that means it's time to move on. So, mythology. How about that? How about that?
Mm-hmm.
You're quite...
I want all the Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Basically, in there. There's like, anyone who knows the smallest amount of Norse mythology, even just from like the Marvel films, knows there's a gold mine of stuff there.
Well, I didn't know anything about it, but I played God of War, and now I'm all about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, it feels like it's hot right now, right?
God of War, Senua Sacrifice. Like,
here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
So Assassin's Creed, they're still sticking with this thing where you go in the Animus, and it's sort of science, right? Sort of. But then in the most recent games, they like have you fighting Medusa. And like I think we're showing footage right now of the fight with the actual god Anubis.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you go into the afterworld and you fight a load of like Anubis godhead things in the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC. Like basically when you played Origins and in Odyssey, your character is very much of that time and living in that time.
Right.
So they act as if all the gods of that particular time that people believed in then are completely real. So Bayek goes off on loads of things, like something is happening at the temple and there's a curse.
Right.
And he goes and fixes the thing to hopefully mean that the gods are pleased. So like that's like part of his role as a magi. And yeah, like as you're going around, like the people who live in the world are all like praying to various statues and stuff, both in Odyssey and Origins. So everything is very much like the people there believe in the gods, and so does your character kind of at least respects that, even if they don't fully believe it. So sometimes in Odyssey there's a little bit like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I think like they've really there's moments, so like in this DLC and in the Medusa section of Odyssey, like there's bits where they're like, it's real though, could be real though, because like this whole DLC, like Bayek is like, oh my goodness, like Emma, is this, yeah, okay, this is really like the first time he walks into like the fields of wheat and sees these like god-headed birds like with a human head, which are like the souls of dead people, and he's like, the hell? And you're like, yeah, this is the afterlife, so
that's cool. That's good. To be honest, like I'm so into it. I'm all for actual mythology and like paranormal, like god fighting and stuff. But for me, what it means is that maybe it's time, and we'll probably come on to this later, but is it time maybe to move away from the Animus, like scientific, it's all real side of things?
Well, the thing is, there's still like elements of that, and I think like there's elements where Bayek goes around the world and finds stuff from like the precursors, I think they're called still, like, but the people who came before us, in the Assassin's Creed series. The Isu, yes, that's it. And they're very much based in like science, even though they're mythical. And yeah, the Animus is just there to explain why you're back in time.
Sure.
And why if you die you come back. It doesn't explain the things that your predecessors saw with their own eyes, which could include mythological things.
Okay.
Even like, so sometimes the whole kind of the Isu stuff is used to explain away certain things that people believed in like the earlier games. So like why they kept calling it the Apple of Eden and things like that, and they're like, well, the Garden of Eden was actually this thing, blah 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 blah, and they explain it like that. But they don't do it so much in these later games. But I don't think that weakens it at all, because it's really boring to kind of go back and explain again and again and again why this like mythological stuff is actually to do with this really kind of drawn out, I'd kind of forgotten that they exist and it's not as much of a thing. But I do like the little hints of them around where you find artifacts and you're like, ooh, this is intriguing, rather than this is how it all happens, I'm going to shove it down your throat.
So how would you like mythology to manifest in Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Would you like there's a point in the trailer where your hero Eivor, we're not sure, we're not 100% on the pronunciation of that, but we're
I think it'd be like Eivor.
We're looking into it, yeah. But yeah, if like would you rather like meet these gods or something? But yeah, there's a point where the hero says like Odin is with us or something like that. Would you rather it was quite light touch, or do you want to like fight these gods like in God of War? Do you want lightning attacks in the combat?
I think it would be really cool to like call upon the power of the gods in some way, like at some point, like earn the favor of the gods but I do also like the really kind of light touch thing that they do go for in Odyssey and Origins, where you do have this DLC where you go into the afterworld, but for the rest of the game you're just going around and Bayek is like basically explaining ancient Egyptian mythology to you, and like you're learning about the different gods of Greece as Cassandra or Alexios is walking around. Like it's I think basically I can smell some amazing DLC.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a ridiculous DLC. But I think in the game I want to learn how, like, I know a lot about the mythology as well. I want to learn how people actually kind of like worshipped the gods and what they did to kind of pay respects to them.
Yeah.
I want to know like how they called upon them in battle. I do want some ridiculous stuff. Like they have rainbow bridges and like there's a big thing to do with the Northern Lights, and
the Northern Lights pops up in some of the key art.
In some of the key art, and I think that you'll probably end up going there, and that maybe commune with the gods.
There we go. In fact, you can see in that beautiful.
Yeah.
Ubisoft calls this a screenshot, but to me it looks a bit more like maybe like concept art or something like that.
I think that's an in-engine. Well,
that's impressive. But yeah, I would love some Northern Lights stuff. That aesthetic is so gorgeous. I hope not too much of the game is in England. I hope you get to do a good amount in Norway. You know, like in the snow, under the clear air. That would be so cool.
Well, being made in Montreal, there'll no snow, so it's going to be good. And it's been. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's been an Assassin's Creed in snow. I can't think off the top of my head.
Were there bits of the America one? Is that the America one?
There were areas.
Okay,
yeah. There were areas of snow.
Yeah.
But that was 8 years ago now.
Think of what we can do with modern snow physics technology.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
So powdery.
Oh, it's so powdery, so lovely. I just would like to explore that sort of area. But I think the Northern Lights, I think there'll be something very mystical, and you'll probably see visions in it and things like that.
Nice.
That will explain things to you. Looking at my notes, just you've got Thor, you've got Loki, you've got Odin. We've got a mention of Odin already. I want to hear in conversation, just trickery, like Loki or something like that. Just how just in people's vernacular as well.
You want the sort of mythology to be kind of so baked in that it's just you get throwaway dialogue lines of.
Yeah, and then also Valkyries. I want the Valkyries in there. I want there to be a ridiculous battle.
Romanceable
with
Valkyries.
Oh yes.
We'll get it.
Oh my goodness.
We'll get onto the romance. Don't worry, folks.
Get to the romance.
We'll get to the romance.
We'll get there.
We just have to keep this stream going until after 9 p.m. with Watershed in the UK, and then we'll get to we'll get to the real steamy stuff. Before we move on the subject, what you were saying about wandering around and just learning a history lesson by playing the game, I really think that this game would be a great candidate for the education mode that they had in Origins.
Yes.
What was that called? Do you remember?
Discovery Tour. Right. Remind the viewers what that was exactly. So Discovery Tour was a mode that you got free with the main game, or it was 20 quid if you wanted to buy it standalone, so that you didn't risk children from playing the murder simulation that's in it.
Sure.
And it's basically they'd written a bunch of tours in the map, in the world that they'd built in Egypt, where you would go from point to point, and then there would be a narrator who would tell you something about it. There'd be maybe an additional image that you could look at, of a piece of pottery or something that is probably squirreled away in the British Museum because we've stolen everything, and kind of talk about how people would live their lives, and there would be people who were animated, little NPCs doing things like making papyrus paper and pottery and all sorts of stuff. There's the one on the brewing process, one on how people had personal hygiene, and there's an amazing one on mummification.
Yeah.
And that would just be such an amazing tool to learn about how the Vikings lived, and even how the Saxons lived, just seeing the different sides. And yeah, it was just a really good thing. You would go through, there'd be a little tour, so you go, I want to learn about mummification. It would take you there, and then you just walk from point to point. I think there's an amazing Let's Play for you and Andy doing the mummification one.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're learning, going on a learning journey together.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense because they have already built those environments. They've done all the research. They've built them based off of actual drawings and stuff. So to put a voice track on and add some NPCs and remove all of the stabbing.
But the thing is, the NPCs are basically sitting there anyway in the real game.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
just on animation cycles, and then what they do is they just like lift off part of the game and then put a little tour in, and you're just like going, oh look, do you see this person that we've animated doing this thing? Now learn why they're doing that and all the research that we put into it. And yeah, because I went to Ubisoft Montreal to go and have a preview look at it before they brought it out, and it was amazing. They just had this room, just like walls of research and like how the tour was set out. And like they originally had like 400 different really long tours, and they were like, okay, let's narrow this down. Let's do this and this. They work with historians. So I'm really interested to see what elements of Viking history that they can like shine a light on here. Because I don't know much, even though like Viking history is British history as well. Like they invaded us a lot,
sure.
So we should know more, really. But we don't know much outside. Like in the UK, we're not taught a huge amount in schools outside of the Battle of Hastings and just before that, and Harold Hardrada and stuff like that.
Also, well, I mean, let's not talk too much about it now, because I think we're going to move on to talk even more about the history.
Yes.
Yeah, let's cue that up.
He's left Boston, as I said he would, and set up camp on Holden Hill. There's no good way to get at him. Not with that maelstrom rolling down below. I suppose you could circle around a bit and wait for us to thin their ranks.
There is no time. I will have to chance it.
So, yes. That was a little clip of the point in Assassin's Creed 3, is it? Where you attend the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Yeah.
Which sort of points to the fact that in these games you do get to be there at historic moments.
At historic moments where the British people are always the bad guys.
Yeah, sure. It's fine. It's fine. I say we lean into it. Start being
mostly
cruel.
English people are bad guys in these things,
sure.
which is fair enough. The Scottish ones are like the fun side character.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as everyone's pigeonholed, then the video game is happy. But yeah, so like the Assassin's Creed games are really good for putting you actually in historic moments of historic significance, and in a way that doesn't really change how they play out, but just sort of says, footnote, an assassin was there.
Yeah.
And was messing around in the margins, spiking some cannons or something.
In Assassin's Creed 3, they kind of did a bad job with that, because they basically made Connor like the whole reason everything happened.
But to be fair, though, with Assassin's Creed 3, they did a bad job with everything. So I don't think it's fair to single out. Sorry, I haven't even played it. I don't know. I just know that's the popular view.
That was the one I was slightly disappointed by.
Sure.
However, I have played it twice, so I can't say anything. So, Connor is better if you play the side missions of the homestead missions, and then he's actually got some characterization there. Anyway,
okay.
There's a whole video on Outside Xtra. You can go see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you kind of want to take part in those things. Like you don't want to be like the only reason that they happen, but you want to be there and you want to kind of see it take place. You want to see all these huge historical figures, and so I had a little nose around online to look for various battles and things that we could be a part of, and one that we and also our lovely friend Mike Channel of Outside Xbox reckons is that there's the horrible kind of like angry English king that you kind of see in the trailer, and we think that he might be Alfred the Great. And there was the Battle of Eddington in 865.
Okay.
And where the Vikings fought, I think Alfred won that one. I'm not sure. But the Vikings were known as the Great Heathen Army.
Nice.
In England. So so that's one. Like I looked up on history.co.uk. Thank you to them. The 3 greatest Viking battles.
Okay.
And then, so the second one is the Battle of Malden in 991.
Yeah.
There's King Ethelred the Unready. So you might have actually heard of that guy.
Yes, that rings a bell.
So that's a cool battle that you could, that's a little 100 years out from the other ones. So they're not quite right close to each other, but maybe you'll take part in one. Maybe there's some time skips that will happen. Never know. And then there's the Battle of Assunden in 1016.
Yeah.
Where Edmund Ironside the English king was killed by Canute. The slightly, don't ever typo that name, Canute.
Right, cool.
And then later on, like from our own school history, that stuff that we're taught is the Battle of Hastings in 1066.
Yeah.
So that's the one that if you're in the UK, or at least if you're in England, you're definitely taught this a lot. Yeah. Because basically there were 3 people vying for the throne. There was Harold Hardrada, who was the Viking.
We're looking at some Bayeux tapestry, by the way, now, Ellen.
Yes, got some lovely Bayeux tapestry up. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that takes me back. And then King Harold is the Saxon king, from what I remember. And then you had William of Normandy, who is also known as William the Conqueror. Can you guess who won? But the thing is, like, Harold Hardrada was kind of killed early. Well, he was dealt with early on and chased off early on. I can't remember whether he was killed. I should have double checked that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the Vikings were like involved all the way up until that point at least, and then at that point the Normans came in, and like they'd all been fighting anyway in that part, like over that way, and then they just came and both tried to get us.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that was happening around that time, and also looking at some of the art and seeing the castles. So some people have been trying to point out that from the look of the castles, they look slightly later dates. So those castles kind of started popping up around the 10th and 11th century. So for a point of reference, a Norman castle would be the central tower in the Tower of London.
Okay.
But also, that those things, basically, will there be castles? I don't know, but we'll save that for later in terms of like battles and stuff.
Okay.
Involving castles. And there was one thing. Mike, we had a little kind of like chat brainstorm yesterday about like what Vikings things could we do, and Mike found that because there were a lot of Viking raids, people in England would bury their treasure.
Oh, okay. I think I see where you're going with this.
So, they're using history to Assassin's Creed, you go and find treasure, so you'll be able to go and find treasure.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how they still make you the good guy when you're like, I hear these villagers have buried their precious gold so that we can't sack it and burn the village, but I've just got a hot tip as to where it's buried.
Yeah.
Yep. What's this? Teddy bears, etchings of the family. No. Here we go. A cool dagger. This is the one.
Talking about how are we going to be the good guys, there's the raid on Lindisfarne.
Oh, Lindisfarne.
There's like this monastery that now is looking a little bit ruined.
Yeah.
That's because of the Vikings.
They ruined it. The Vikings literally ruined it.
Ruined it.
Ruined a perfectly good monastery. Yeah.
They slightly kind of went and murdered and enslaved a bunch of monks, so who were just like living there writing things. So I'm interested. When I saw the trailer and like the British people were kind of the bad guys, I was like, how are they gonna spin this? Because there were some interesting things in history. Or both, not to say that the English people have been fantastic throughout history, because we've not.
Quite the opposite.
Very much the opposite. But this, I'm really intrigued to see like what bits they might leave out, maybe, so that your character is more sympathetic, or will your character learn something about their fellow Vikings? Throughout, will they take part in a Viking raid or something, and then be like, guys, this is bad, we shouldn't be doing this?
Well, possibly. In the trailer at the beginning, there is a little bit with there's you've got the English king giving commentary and describing how evil the Vikings are, but then you see your hero protagonist shielding a family from danger during a raid. I mean, it is still a raid. All the houses are still on fire. But your guy Also,
your guy is helping.
The Assassin's Creed series generally, it tells the stories of outsiders. Would that be fair to say? Or
Yeah.
So you could easily have a Viking who is part of, you know, a Viking fleet and doing the raiding and all that stuff, but like finds themselves slightly apart as they go on their journey to be in a, you know, join the Assassin's Guild and what have you.
There's a lot of cases of like your character does something for someone thinking that they're great, and then they learn, oh wait, they're not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something else now. It happens in 3. It happens in, like, definitely happens in Origins and Odyssey. You learn things about certain characters where you're like, maybe I shouldn't have been following this person even though I trusted them initially. So I'm interested. Now,
Ellen, you sent me a picture of Iona Beach
yes.
to load into this. So I'm going to remove this slightly rubbish stock image of a 3D sacking of Lindisfarne.
I just found that stock image and I love it.
Which I am enjoying a lot. No, this is a screenshot from the game. This is one of Ubisoft. You won't see this on other websites. Ubisoft. This is an exclusive. Ubisoft sent us this. This is your first look.
We're joking.
We're joking. Gosh, we're joking. Yeah, but Iona Beach. It looks nice from what I can see.
Beautiful, and the Vikings also raided a monastery abbey thing there. So they like to go for the monks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I loved that image of Iona as well because it reminded me so much. It looks almost Mediterranean in a way in terms of like the color of the sea there, and it's just like basically for that boat combat and things like that. There will probably, you know, be good spaces around there, and it will look pretty and it'll be nice. And yes,
and I'm just so into the color palette of. You know, of that kind of Nordic, especially like the bits of the coast that are getting raided, like those beautiful browns of the rocks, and like you were talking about the color of the sea there, like just such clear oceans. It looks so oh man, nice. It makes me think of in The Witcher 3 there's a place called Skellige, which is, you know, definitely is supposed to be inspired by this sort of environment, and it's just so beautiful and so much fun to run and swim around in.
Yeah.
Okay, Ellen, I feel like we've filled our educational quota. Can we talk about hot Viking romance now?
Hell yeah.
Please, thank you. Good. Yeah. All right, history's over, folks. Let's get
fanfic.
Let's get steamy.
You don't deserve any of this. You're only trying to live your life.
Of course I am. I've done nothing wrong. I just want to have a healthy father and to start my journey.
You can start that after we have a little fun.
I do enjoy your attempts. Tell me, what is it that's meant to make me swoon this time?
If you undress me, I think you'll find out.
Woo! Steamy stuff, Ellen. What we were just watching there was a clip that you sent me. I mean, I sensibly put a hard cut at the end there. Edited that. Yeah, so the idea of romance, dialogue trees, that kind of thing, this is fairly new to Assassin's Creed, right? They haven't been doing it for that long.
It's fun. My Cassandra is a relentless flirt. Although, like, she's not a player. She's not a player because you basically.
I mean, I didn't say anything, Ellen. I didn't.
Yeah. Oh no!
Wish to besmirch the honor of your Cassandra.
This is for the people at home.
Right. Sure.
Because basically, that was I found Odessa on a side quest. Did some things for her, found her on another, like, found her later on in the game, did some more things, and every single time I kind of flirted with her a little bit. The first time I flirted with her, I completely blew it, because she was like, oh, I want to go on Odyssey like my ancestor. And then my Cassandra was like, hey, I chose the option that I thought was going to be like, look, just choose your own path because you'll be great. But then Cassandra was like, why don't you just do your own thing? And I was like, no.
Well, okay, now that's...
I blew it, oh God.
See, now that to me really highlights what's going on with the Assassin's Creed series in this, because it like they've only recently started to RPGify the series, and we are going to talk about that and whether it's a good or a bad thing a whole lot. And with that comes that sort of Mass Effect romancing, but it totally depends on those dialogue trees. And I think because they're new to it, I think that it happens quite often in those games that you give a response, and it's not quite what you thought your character was going to say. So I think you sort of end up, putting a lot of effort into these romances, spending a lot of time with these dialogue tree bits of the game, but actually, like, it's not as good or as polished as if you were playing Mass Effect or as if you were playing Skyrim or something, because those games are built exclusively for that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, in this they're like more fun, and then by the end of this, like, so by the time Cassandra and Odessa had, it finally happened. Oh my goodness, just like you like each other, after that, like, it was cool, kind of like done and dusted, and she was like, oh, I suppose that's it. But then I was given the option to be like, hey, no, you should join my ship, like, just be like, we'll still hang out all the time, and that'll be nice. So I think that's what I'm going to try for every time, if I've got the option to still have them like be around, so that it's not like bye, and then Cassandra isn't like a ghosting person. But yeah, like, I am really interested to see whether they will have lots of romanceable options, because I'm not sure whether that family that they were like playing together, whether that was your character's family, or whether it was just like some kids in your clan or whatever. But the thing
surely they're not going to give you a protagonist in a game who already has an established family and kids.
Well, and then they'll murder them.
Oh no, that would be sad.
I mean, did it to Ezio.
Oh yeah, and he was a real Lothario. It didn't.
Yeah.
The slaying of his family didn't set him back, romance-wise.
No. But yeah, I would like to like have that be an option. But it was always like a fun side thing that would change. It never changed the heart of the story of what was happening.
Yes. It
was just like an additional kind of like side mission that you could do if you wanted. One thing we do know is that I'm interested to see whether they will keep the option to romance anyone. Because like I've had a look into like Viking relationships and courtship and stuff, like very, very basic scouring the internet to try and find articles. And
I've got absolutely no idea about sexuality in the Viking culture.
But basically, like, most marriages were set up so that it was like, so that families could like build stronger bonds. It was all very much kind of a business transaction sometimes. There was like it was that thing where you could have affairs, but you still had to be with your significant other.
Okay. Right.
And there was an opportunity for non-heterosexual relationships.
Okay.
So like there was like there will still be maybe different options, like the freedom that you had in Odyssey. Although in Odyssey, they at one point kind of forced you into a heterosexual relationship at one point.
Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't that right at the end of the DLC? And it was
right at the end of the, one of the DLCs.
Massive misstep,
And everyone was just like, no, I've been role-playing, like, it's an RPG, and I've been role-playing my Cassandra as completely gay, or like Alexios as completely gay. And it was just like, don't shoehorn people into one thing. Like, my Cassandra flirts with everyone, so whatever. for me, but like for people who like really attach themselves to a character and it is an RPG, if you're gonna add RPG elements, let people roleplay everything. But yeah, so I'd be really interested. I want to make sure that it's done, that no kind of like shoehorning in of, oh, actually you end up with this person happens. And but the other thing that we definitely know, talking about this, like, who will you flirt with? Will you be a guy or a girl? You can be either. We know this because we have screenshots. We have a screenshot of the female version.
Here we go.
Basically, she's not got a beard. That's the kind of like.
I'm gonna have to look through all my screenshots again. Here we go. It's just like this is like when you ask your friend to like look through their photos.
She's the one on the boat. She's the one on the boat.
Oh wait, well, hang on. Did I go past it then?
495.
There we go.
There we go.
Cool.
And she's also in 495 115 EA, the one on the hill with the snowy mountains in the background.
Oh yeah.
In the tree.
Let's find that.
So yeah, you'll have the option, and I hope that you still have the option as both, like as either of those characters. To romance someone of any gender that you come across.
I would be absolutely amazed if they did anything other than that, especially because that's the way it's been going. I think that it's something people expect in these video games. If you're going to have romance, if you're going to have RPG elements like that, at this point it just doesn't seem it.
Also, it's a lot more work. Like it's a lot easier to just be like, yeah, you can romance everyone, rather than, okay, if you choose that character, you can only romance these people, and if you choose that character, you can only romance these people. Like it just gives the players more freedom, and it's easier for the developers to code, I would imagine.
I would think so. We have let me it's going to take me a minute to grab it, but we do have a picture of the collector's edition, right?
Yeah, the
collector's edition, which probably gives us our clearest look, possibly unintended clearest look of the female protagonist. All right, keep chatting, Ellen, and I'll while I find it.
No, I am really, really, really excited to meet all the different characters that you like go around in the world, like not even the ones that you have to romance.
Yeah.
Like looking a little bit back at the history stuff, I want to meet and possibly romance some influential people in history. Like just find, like, there's a lot of ridiculous like Viking kings. There's the ridiculous Viking warriors. So we talked about Harald Hardrada.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Ragnar Lothbrok, who was like killed with snakes or something. I don't know. There's like ridiculous history.
Yeah.
Then there's the last king of York.
Hang on, there we go. We got the picture up now.
We've got the picture up. The last king.
It is on top
Eric
of us,
Bloodaxe.
but you could. But that gives you a really clear view, I think. Of, I mean, that is clearly the female protagonist of the game.
She looks very angry and ready for war.
Yep.
I definitely want that in my house. I am an absolute sucker for like collectibles and figurines regarding the Assassin's Creed series.
Yeah.
I think she looks super cool. I like her undershave haircut.
Yeah.
I think that is really cool.
It's a good look. Also, you mentioned that king who died by snakes. We got a picture of that.
Yeah.
I mean, not a photo, just a drawing.
We were there.
Yeah.
We went in the Animus.
The king had the sense to take a selfie from.
Yeah, like so basically, like that kind of goes back a little bit to the seeing various like points in history. I would like to like see these ridiculous things happen to these Viking kings and stuff, because you kind of like in Assassin's Creed Origins, you kind of cause like Ptolemy's death. Like he's the big bad, and then like he dies, and then you're like, oh, that's how he died in real life. But like it's sort of like cleverly done so that you caused it in a way.
Makes sense.
And I like getting those weird history lessons. It's brilliant. And hey, maybe if you can romance them at the same time, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be ideal. All right, let's move on to talking about customization.
Oh yes.
Here we go. Let's talk beards, Ellen.
Yeah.
Let's finally talk beards.
Yeah, completely. So in Origins,
yeah,
you had the option of hair or no hair,
yes,
beard or no beard.
Okay.
And that was nice. Also, both in that and in Odyssey, you could choose whether to have your hood on show or not, like your helmet, and still have the stats from that, which is something that you can also find in Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. I did it. I got it in.
She pulled the trigger.
But now I don't want ridiculous character customization. I want the character that Ubisoft have created. I don't want to create my own character.
So you don't want that BioWare, like, complete control, cheekbones, eyebrows. Okay.
I want an Arthur Morgan level.
Ah, interesting, because there hasn't been an Assassin's Creed game since Red Dead 2, but that really is. I mean, Arthur Morgan is so customizable.
Yeah.
But also not.
Different. The thing is, like, with the Vikings, it was all about the braids. I've gone for the braid today to reflect that.
And I've gone for the beard.
Yes.
Well, I tried.
You tried real hard.
Can I be a Viking, please? I get seasick. I faint at the sight of blood.
I would really like is different, like same with the female version of the character, like different hair braids, different beard braids. I just want ridiculous options there. I think it would be really fun, and I'm sure, like, even in the trailer I saw so many different Vikings with different beards, and I'm just like, I want all of those beards, and all I want, like, well, I'll probably be playing as the female characters. I want the shaved undercut. I want one where it's just a braid. It's like, that's how you do a fake undercut, is you do a braid there. It's really clever.
Sure.
And then, like, just tons. I want to have, like, a Merylwen option. I want all these different things. And I just think it would be a really nice touch, because there's a lot of customization in the games, in Odyssey and Origins, in regards to your gear. So you have, like, in terms of, like, you've got a lot of different gear that you can choose from, and while they different stats and stuff and different levels, like, if you find one piece of gear that you really like the look of, you have the options in games to in both their games to level up that stuff,
right,
so that it stays the right level for you for the entirety of the game. So if you find that look that you really like, you can be like, okay, I'm just going to invest in this equipment because I think it looks cool on my character.
Yeah.
And so, I want to continue that. I want to find really cool gear and dress up my Viking in ridiculous, cool outfits. Because there's a lot of, like, cool armor, different shields. I would love that. That would be really cool.
Well, I think there's just nothing more frustrating in an RPG than when you want your character to look like a badass, or to look a certain way, but you're sort of tied to the armor that has the highest numbers. So you don't really get to customize them much. Like, it's not really up to you, and everything's mismatched, and it's very frustrating. And that was what was so good about Red Dead 2, was that there were so many different clothing options, but none of them had any numbers associated with them. It wasn't a stats thing, so it really was just playing dress up, and I think that's more important. I think that I would even say that that's more important for an RPG than armor having stats, because role playing is the name of the game, more so than finding loot. You can get loot with, like, weapons and trinkets. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, your character's appearance never really changes, but you can still change out their armor and find new loot. It's just not visible, or it manifests in little ways, like earrings or bracelets and that kind of thing.
No, because I really do like the loot system, which we'll go into probably later when we go more into the RPG stuff. But it was just, like, it was really difficult for me as well, like, to go away from, like, Cassandra's, like, default look in all of the marketing, because for so long, like, that's what she looks like. She has that red scarf, that's, like, the mercenary gear. And then eventually I was like, I'll try something else, and I'm like, oh, look, she looks fine, it's fine, the braid's there, she looks like her.
You took the plunge.
I took the plunge, and it was great. So it does, like, force you to try new things. But again, like there are just certain things that you like, and there's a good look, and like there's so many different cool outfits in these games, like cool armor sets, and it's a shame that some of them might not get worn because they don't have high enough stats, or you don't have the funds to kind of invest in it. Yep. But sometimes there is that option there at least, so that you can force this thing to be as good as you are, basically.
Good. Cool. Well, I mean, do we have anything more to say on that, on the subject of customization beyond we want some?
I think basically, like, we want some, but we want to keep the main protagonist, whichever gender you play as, to still kind of look like them. But just have that Arthur Morgan beard trimming, hairstyling.
The Arthur Morgan model.
Like, and the same in like the other Rockstar games like GTA 5 and stuff. Just give yourself that little look, so you're like, okay, this is my character.
They know what they're doing in those games, don't they? All right, well, we're going to move on to talking about climbing, but I already know that we are going to get way off topic when we...
This is the long one, okay? Everyone buckle in.
If you have been waiting for a general moratorium on the direction of Assassin's Creed in all aspects, then this is when we're going to properly get into it. Are you ready, Ellen? You are so ready. Okay, here we go.
Come this way.
So, climbing is a good way to get into this, I think, because it is what Assassin's Creed was originally all about, that parkour mechanic of
verticality.
Verticality. Do you have to do this with your neck when you say that?
Verticality.
Verticality.
No, you should go verticality.
Verticality. I might not do either if it's okay.
You just did it.
Well, I might not do either again. I might have made that the last time. So, but that's what and like Assassin's Creed 3 was criticized because it was set somewhere basically that had low buildings, which meant that you didn't have like a load of like sprinting up the side of buildings. And then in Syndicate, London is so good for that. That was such a perfect setting for like rooftop running and all that sort of stuff. But since then, the games have basically changed a lot philosophically. So what do you like about the new games like Origins and Odyssey, Ellen, gameplay wise? And what do you hope that they will keep from the old games?
Like, I want that verticality to stay. I think the big problem that Assassin's Creed 3 had was it hadn't quite made the kind of horseback riding around that much fun yet. The controls weren't brilliant when you were like climbing around the forest, and then when you were in the cities, a lot of the houses were quite far apart. They were like wide roads to reflect what they were like at the time. They were just big places that people could walk down and put horse and carts and stuff down. But it meant you had to rely on like random wires across the way and stuff like that, and you were very limited with what you could do, and like the buildings that you climbed were the same thing over again. If you went to a church, like if you went to like a new town and you had to find the synchronization point, it was a church, and it was the same cut out copy church that was in all of the other ones. It was one of those pointy roof with a tower and a pointy roof on top. Like it was that New England of that time. All of them looked the same and made of wood and nothing different.
I can picture it.
But in the new one, there's way more in terms of in Odyssey and in Origins, even though you have like these vast expanses of water and desert where you are basically just doing a lot of horizontal travel, they peppered those things with things to do.
Yep.
Basically, a lot of little side quests,
buildings and cliffs and
And as you said, build as a cliff. Like when you did get to like a fort or something or a settlement, they were often like built into cliff sides. So like the footage showing right now is like me trying to get into an area from the top of a cliff. So I was like climbing up and down, doing air assassinations right at the start. That you're always given like different options to go in, so you can like sneak in through a tunnel or come in from the top or just go in and wail on everyone. Really gives you the options. And like I think like despite the fact that there's even more open space than in 3, it feels like there's more of those pockets of verticality where you actually get to clamber around like an assassin. Like my favorite thing in Assassin's Creed games is getting on a ledge and then doing a ledge kill, like stabbing them and then throwing them off behind you. Like that just feels like such an assassin thing to do. And you can do it.
But setting this sort of Viking setting is probably, of all of the Assassin's Creed games so far, even though it's not the one set furthest in the past, I would imagine because it's kind of in Dark Ages Britain, there wasn't a whole lot of building going on. There wasn't a whole lot of architecture or enlightened anything really. So I suspect even more so we're going to have like flat expanses that they're going to be working really hard to think of things for you to climb, other than I guess a castle and a cliff.
Like I think they're going to rely a lot on cliff sides, on like it seems like it's going to be like a lot around the Yorkshire and Northumberland coast.
Okay.
So I think I've given you an image of Bamburgh Castle.
Oh yeah, you have. Look at that.
That's not what it looked like back in the day. It like the central square bit that was built by the Normans and then it was expanded upon later on. But there's always been a fort there because it is this kind of high mound of stuff and it's a good lookout by the sea. So there still will be lots of these like fort areas, and like anyone who's played Odyssey or Origins will have gone in and fought forts, and like they build a lot with like scaffolding. One place I have been to in real life, which I should have got a picture of because I've just remembered it, is there's like when the Normans invaded, they built a lot of like they would build their forts on mounds, like fake mounds.
Oh right, okay.
And there's one just north of London called Mount Fitchett, where they've got like you can go if you're in the UK or if you visit the UK at any point when we're all open again, you can go and see they've got like remade and like a Norman fort. So if we were of like near that time, maybe perhaps you might see something like that. And they are very similar to the forts and the bases and stuff that you take in Origins and Odyssey. I think there's going to be a lot of relying on the beautiful Northumberland coastline in order to provide that kind of like verticality, because those types of forts won't be all like high up. So I think there's going to be a lot of reliance on that. I think there's going to be like some more of the like kind of forest climbing things that you got in like Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag. It was a lot better. Playing Black Flag right now and clambering through the jungle, way better. But yeah, like basically, I think there's going to be mostly cliff sides. But I did wonder if like these buildings, when they started to be built like around the 11th, 12th century, when we're clambering over them, are we going to be clambering over building sites like we were in Origins? So while you had the really old pyramids, you also had pyramids that were still being built that you could clamber over. So there was a little bit of stuff there.
There's a bit in the trailer where you see, a village being constructed in the background of the trailer. You can see, buildings going up basically. So I wouldn't be surprised if they used that trick again, basically. I think it will be really cool to hope. I think it's basically you're going to be clambering around a world that is being built.
in like, and that's going to provide all the various like scaffolding and things that you'll be clambering over. I think.
Okay.
I think.
The thing is, I believe that they can do the verticality, and do that well and make it feel good. But like in the footage we were looking at earlier, when you were talking about in Odyssey, when you were trying to get into a stronghold, I was struck by again by quite how RPG-ish the Assassin's Creed series has become, because you were getting some sweet headshots with your bow and arrow there, but you know, in
numbers were coming out.
Numbers were coming out, and the person wasn't dying. So obviously that was a huge departure with Origins, and they continued it. They leaned into it with Odyssey. Do you think there's any chance that this game is going to row back to the kind of non-RPG, more traditional, like story-focused, instant kill, assassination focus, like, or do you think we're keeping it's loot, it's numbers coming out, it's RPG? What do you think?
I think it's going to be RPG.
I think so as well.
I think they found the thing that they like doing, and that's what they're going in for. Because the thing is, as annoying as it is to not be able to single kill someone, when you do finally kill someone, it's very satisfying. Like like going into a battle and like it's gone very Dark Soulsy in its combat. In terms of you have to lock on, you have to dodge, you have to do it. Like in the previous games, you basically wait, parry, kill. Wait, parry, kill.
Yeah, and no one attacks you if they're stood behind you. And but like in the older games, if you get into a big brawl with a bunch of people, you're kind of not playing the game properly, right? Because it wants you to be sneaking and hiding and doing the cool takedowns, being stealthy. And I know you love being stealthy.
Oh,
so
I love it.
Do you miss that kind of focus on stealth, or can you still play Odyssey as stealthily as you would play like Black Flag?
Oh, completely. Like you have your missions where you do have to go in and start a fight, and there's the additional thing both in Odyssey and Origins where you have mercenaries and Philarches chasing you down, and they annoyed me because
see some mercenary fighting.
You're in the middle of a thing where you have to like try and assassinate someone, or like you've just accidentally started a fight and you're dealing with like a fight that you weren't planning on, and then just as you're about to win, a mercenary who's like 2 or 3 levels above you or whatever, but they're a lot stronger than any other enemy usually is at whatever level they are, and they just completely own you. They just completely murder you, and you're like, I was literally just about to finish that mission, and now I have to go back to the checkpoint because something that just was a random thing because you happened to walk past, I've now failed this mission, and that's a pain in the ass.
I mean, that specifically is something I would call out as something that I hope is not in there, that random aspect, because I didn't play loads of Odyssey, but I did play quite a lot of Far Cry 5, which is another game from Ubisoft as a publisher, and we can talk a little bit about this, but there's definitely, although the Ubisoft games are built by different teams, I would say there's definitely a Ubisoft vibe that goes across all of their franchises. And in fact,
oh my goodness, there's places that you have to go and you have to gradually take over and like take down these particular points around the map and turn them to your side. And,
exactly.
And you have to go and find 100 pieces of loot. Oh, you have to cook, like put a new flag up here. Okay.
I see you.
Oh, you have to go climb a tower and unlock the map. All right.
Exactly. And it's all of this stuff that is not that like there's a real Ubisoft feel, I think, when you're playing, whether it's Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. You can feel the Ubisoft-ness in it, which I don't mind, because I think that generally they make games of a high standard, but like in Far Cry 5. In Far Cry 5, in Far Cry 5, occasionally you'd be playing and like you'd be, no matter what you were doing, it could happen at any point. The screen would fade to black and you would be kidnapped and you would have to do this really long, very boring like story mission. that was just so like frustrating, and it just happened randomly, and that is something that, as you said, like has been creeping in more and more into Assassin's Creed, and it's kind of a key mechanic in the last few games, like the mercenaries and the Phylakes, are they called?
Yeah, Phylakes.
Yeah.
They were in our video of like most annoying enemies.
Yes, that's right. They just sort of they rock up at any moment, and they're incredibly strong.
Yeah, and like, yeah, they're so strong. And the worst thing is like when you're trying to take out a hideout.
Yeah.
Because I 100%ed Origins, so I was trying to get every hideout, and then I was sitting there, and I'd nearly got the captain, I'd nearly got all the different people that I needed to tick off all the boxes, and then this huge high-level thing with like the worst red icon of fear comes in, and I just have to like hide in this bush, being like, "Don't find me." Like poor Bayek, he's such a like strong character, and I was just making him hide and cower in a bush and hope that this thing went away.
That's another interesting aspect of this, because obviously when you're playing the game, you're playing this like total badass character, like elite assassin, but the RPG nature of the game, it means that you get hit loads. So you're going to see Bayek take a sword to the face many times, and when I'm playing something like Dark Souls or Skyrim, I feel like that's allowed because those games are so much more explicitly about health bars and damage taking and stuff. But I always found it a little bit immersion breaking when you are having these fights and you're like stabbing this person over and over again. Also, like the last few Assassin's Creed games have been pretty violent as something of a sidebar. And wow, the gore in the trailer. That came out today.
Well, like there was a clip, like one of the clips I sent you that we might use or not, because the first game opens basically like the 300 battle.
Oh yeah,
of Sparta.
Oh, I've got it.
And
I've got it.
Like there's a bit right at the end where I cut the clip because I was like, I can't risk that going on the live stream and then like YouTube blocks it everywhere.
Yeah.
Because the guy gets a spear and puts it right through the guy's face, through his mouth.
Oh dear!
Like he's in mid-sentence.
I mean, the stuff that I'm seeing now
like,
is reasonably strong. It's weird though,
like,
isn't it? It's become, Assassin's Creed has kind of crept up to become one of the most violent series out there. But it's bizarre because I feel like that's not historically what it is. Like, you know, it's not Doom.
No, like there's always like violence happening on the peripheral.
Yeah.
But you're usually the one like sneaking around and then doing all the stabby quietly that no one sees.
Do you know what it's like? It's like you know, kind of swashbuckling films, like where there'd be a lot of sword fighting and then everyone gets like kicked off a boat or something, or like, you know, like there's sort of deadly exciting sword fighting, but then the actual death is
off camera.
Is off camera. Or, yeah, I mean, in Assassin's Creed, it's not off camera, obviously. Like even back to the beginning, there's a lot of like things going into necks and stuff. But it's not super violent, is it? Like his like in terms of blood, in terms of flesh rending.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was actually quite struck watching the new trailer. I was like, oh my heavens.
Yeah, access to necks and everything.
Heavens to Betsy.
Like spear right through his chest. Yeah.
Intense stuff.
It's it's the thing, because the thing is, it's like the last two games and then this one, I think, are like kind of before like the Brotherhood was really like fully formed and before they really decided to go into the shadows.
The Brotherhood of Assassins.
Of the Assassins,
right.
Yeah.
And before they went in the shadows, it was okay to spear someone through the mouth. And then they were like, No, I know what you mean.
The communication channels that came along later where you could like send messages across the world in a boat very easily, and so you kind of had to be quiet and do it like in the shadows and not have anyone notice you. So like that gives them license to be like, let's have a big battle. So yeah, I think the thing is though, like, it's more violent and it's not quite the sneaky stuff. I really did enjoy the battle stuff in Odyssey.
Oh right, this is the mechanic by which you have like an enormous ruck
enormous battle. So like the Battle of Sparta is like your tutorial at the beginning of the game, but then as the game progresses, you can either side with the Spartans or the Athenians, and change the power dynamic in different areas of the world. And like depending on how you want to play, that's the other RPG element of it. And the thing is, those battles were really fun. I really enjoyed them, but I completely understand the people who just don't care. And just want to sneak around and stab things. But the thing is, you can just do that. You can, like, you've got like some of the like ones you have to do during the main story, but I think for the most part, like, whenever there is a fort, whenever there is somewhere that you can sneak around and like a house that you have to find something in, you can either go in swords everywhere or you can sneaky stabby, which is my route. So like, I get the frustration at not being able to just do the sneaky stabby, but it's this weird thing of, I was a bit like, oh, is this going to be good? But then when I tried it, I was like, actually, it's fun, and don't be afraid to try new things. It was weird as well. Like I said right at the beginning when we were talking about Assassin's Creed 3, like the original Assassin's Creed elements, I wasn't actually enjoying as much as the new boat stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like, so because that's you still find something fun and new in it. So like there are some people who just haven't tried the new games. Because they're like, oh, it's not Assassin's Creed. But I've played them, and they are Assassin's Creed. Like, they're a little bit different, like, and they're a different time period, but they're the same universe. They're like, there's still, like, I felt like an assassin when I was playing them, and like, as you gradually unlock different skills, you become a master assassin, and it's great. It feels really cool when you get to the level DNA, that you want to be.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just watching some of this battle footage, and my word, you're getting a lot of blood out of those folks on those sides. That's the thing. I've seen people in the chat saying like, the games have always been like violent. They've always, you like assassinate, and I am gonna like.
They've not been as brutal.
I
think that's.
I'm gonna stick with this. Like, look, I do not mind or have a problem with violent video games, and they have always been violent, but like. The gore is new, I think, like the sort of like the visceral blood spray kind of stuff that we're seeing here.
All those extra pixels, all the Ubisoft teams are like, yes.
yeah. And you know, I don't that stuff doesn't bother me when I'm playing, but I think it's interesting. I wonder if they are deliberately courting a sort of more like mature audience, like trying to stick with the people who played these games originally.
They want Witcher fans.
Right. Well, see, that's so difficult though, because
they want Skyrim fans. That's what they're going with Valhalla. Like
you know what? We've absolutely got to the nub of the issue here, because I get that. I see why if you are a games publisher, you would want to attract Witcher and Skyrim fans because there are loads of them. But with the best will in the world, like I think Odyssey is a great game, but like you're not gonna get what you get from The Witcher. Like
no, you're not going to get the magic and the very like the essence of The Witcher. But like they want to kind of appeal and be like, hey, if you like how you play that, you might enjoy the combat in this game. And it's I think it's just to complicate the gameplay a little bit, I think is important, because like there are some people who are like, oh no, I want another Assassin's Creed just like 2 or just like Revelations. Like I don't like it's. I know some people who are like, I've not touched a game since Revelations. Once 3 came out, I hated it. I've never played them. And I'm like, yeah, but if they just brought out literally the same game for like every year with a different setting, like it'd be all right. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But eventually, you'd get bored of doing the same thing over and over, and so I think we do need those slight changes, and this is just what it has evolved into. And I completely get people if this isn't their thing. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you should definitely play it if you don't think that you would enjoy it. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but like,
of course,
I am like, my favorite Assassin's Creed game is still Brotherhood, still to this day. but I absolutely adored Origins, and I think a big part of that was the characterization of Bayek. Because I like, and that's what I think is the big thing, is that like the assassins are still at the heart of it, because even though like he's before the assassins, it's the hidden ones, it's all slightly different. Like the characters are still the sort of characters that you like and can, you know, they're charming, they're unique, they make you laugh, but like they're also very relatable, even though like they're super high powered people who can like murder people really easily. So yeah, I think I completely understand the RPG stuff, but it's still an Assassin's Creed game where you run around and you collect things and you murder people. And you still, the other thing is as well, you've still got the Assassin's Creed music, which is the best video game music in my opinion. Just like, yeah. That one. Like, I was watching the stream yesterday in the background as I was doing some work, and while I had the Animal Crossing stream on as well. And just the music, like, they just had just a lovely cycle of Assassin's Creed music, and I was just like, oh, I forgot how good this all was. And like, there were some bits of music where I was actually getting goosebumps, because it's just wormed its way into my brain, into my subconscious, and it is in there forever. And will always be like nostalgia hit, woo, whenever I hear it. It is just so good, and like, yeah, the theming, everything ties in, and you still got like that Assassins and Templars is still there. And I want to see how that plays out in like Vikings versus Saxons. Are the Saxons supposed to be the Templars? I guess so.
Combat-wise, if we can briefly go on the combat, because something we do know is that something that Ubisoft has divulged is that you're going to have dual wielding, as you would expect, because you want to be able to rush in.
These are my axes.
You want to be able to rush in with 2 axes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you kind of had dual wielding in Odyssey, because Cassandra or Alexios, depending on who you played, had the spear and a sword usually, and then you could you could kind of upgrade a little bit, but just going in and being like, and I think Bayek had it as well. You had the option of dual wielding swords, or you could have a spear. Like we've seen assassins with huge like axes before, so a big Viking axe is just perfect for that kind of stuff. That basically the combat as it stands in Odyssey and Origins, the most recent games, is perfect for Viking combat. You've got the big shields, you've got the big axes, you've got the huge battles. I think that, you know, there might be some raiding, there might be like a kind of invasion.
They've
type
talked about a
part
raiding mechanic, which sounds to me like the updated version of the battle system.
Yeah.
Another interesting, like, how are we going to be the good guys?
How will we make the Vikings?
How are we the good guys when it's like, I think I'll go on a raid. Burn down the school, burn down the church, burn down the houses, find all the gold. We'll see. I'm interested to see how they tackle it.
I'm really interested to see how.
Maybe with that song. Maybe that's how they'll approach it.
Yeah.
One thing we should talk about. Well, I don't know if we should talk about it. One thing I would like to talk about is something notably absent from the trailer for Valhalla, and indeed anything that we know so far about Valhalla, is the central concept that it has always been at the core of Assassin's Creed, or at least was at the beginning, which is this idea that what you're doing is replaying someone's genetic memories by plugging into the Animus, and that there are evil corporations and good guilds, you know, trying to control the world. The whole Illuminati Animus stuff, that feels like for the last few games it has just been getting more and more diminished. Like, how big a part of Odyssey and Origins was that like, you know, stuff in the present day?
Basically in both of those games, like in Odyssey, you set up the game, but like I say, in both games you are Layla Hassan.
Yes.
And she is someone in Origins. She is working for Abstergo, and she's like in a cave somewhere and is doing her own project and is like trying to do like additional research. Like she's trying to get like bonus points, basically, trying to get those extra points for a possible promotion or like the possibility of doing a new project. And the thing is, as she goes along and finds out more things, she realizes that Abstergo are bad, and then that she is actually the descendant of the assassins, I think. What? How would we get?
We're seeing some Layla Hassan gameplay now.
Yeah, I believe this is like the first, like in Origins, you're basically in a cave, and there are the little moments where you come out of the Animus and you like explore this cave, and there's various little parts of the story that play out there, gradually escalating into this moment, like, that I won't spoil completely, but it's really interesting, and it's how you it kind of explains how you then switch from Bayek to Aya, where you find her as well, and because her sarcophagus has fallen down.
Yes.
So then and it's just like I think that's how it plays out.
I remember something like that.
So that they'll have the real world explanation as to why you're switching characters and can suddenly switch characters even though you don't have their DNA. Oh wait, you found it in the real world, it's fine.
But why? Why is that still a thing? Are assassin and I want
Danny Wallace got to get his paycheck.
Okay, well, you know what? If that's the reason, then I get it. But I just want to, I would love to take the temperature of you as an Assassin's Creed fan, and also with the chat, who I'm assuming are many of whom are in Assassin's Creed enthusiasts. I have no skin in the game here, but how keen are we on the modern day stuff?
I don't like it when it takes too much of a front seat. I think it needs to be a back seat. It needs to be a nice little, hey, remember this? Yeah.
But you wouldn't get rid of it.
I wouldn't get rid of it because I like those. As someone who's played the games for over 10 years now, like the Black Flag streams, and then you are wandering around the Abstergo offices and you see your two pals who are in disguise. They're like, Danny Wallace is working at the coffee bar, and then your nice like programmer friend is like pretending to be a delivery person, and like you're like, oh, it's you guys, it's my friend, oh, I know them and it's just those little bits. Like I think, was it in one of them there was just like a clip from like a drone footage where you kind of see Danny Wallace do an eagle dive at one point. You're like, oh wow,
yeah,
that's good. Wonder if they mocap that one. And yeah, like I like those touches, but I don't think it should be like a central. I think that was what really weakened Revelations, because there was this whole side thing where Desmond was stuck in like a computer, or that was Brotherhood, I think it was, where he was like stuck in a computer, and there was like person 13, subject 13 or something, and there were all this other stuff, and then in 3 there were like entire sections where he went to the Abstergo offices and stuff, and that was cool to see, but it also took away from Connor's stuff, because it's like, oh, don't worry about Connor right now, you need to be thinking about Desmond.
Okay, you know your way around the Assassin's Creed lore and overarching storyline. There like that sort of, oh, hang on, my headphones fell off. That sort of that idea of Abstergo and the Animus, and is that story still moving forward? Like, does the stuff that's happened, does the battle between good and evil in the present day, did it get moved along a little bit in Odyssey and Origins, or is it just kind of like, FYI, the battle between good and evil is still raging in the present day? FYI, now back to the past.
I don't know how much it's moved on. I think it's just a thing of like, this is an ongoing thing that is still happening in the present day, and there's a reason why this person is deciding to just play the memories of their ancestor. I don't think I'm not dying to know the conclusion to it. I just like that every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, here's the it's in the real world again, and then you go back in, and what it does is it does nicely break up when you have time jumps in the main part of the game. So you come out, you go, wow, okay, so what did we learn from that section of time about our character and the Templars and blah 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 blah? Okay, there's that. Okay, we'll go back, and then that's usually when they skip forward a little bit in time. So it just accounts for weird jumps in time.
Okay, all right.
And it's just I like it as just like a long-term fan. I don't know if someone brand new to the series would even care. I think they're making it less of a huge thing so as not to put off people who haven't been playing every single game, because there will be people who are brand new to the series who have never played Assassin's Creed
don't want
but
to be
are
watching
interested
long
in Vikings.
cutscenes about the Isu and stuff. As a little sidebar before we move on, Ellen, because I know a lot of people in the chat will be wondering, in this footage that I was just looking at, did I see like a bunch of Final Fantasy stuff? Was there a chocobo and a cactuar?
Oh yeah, I was just looking around, and that was the weird crossover. So remember we did that video about the cameos?
Yeah.
There was a special thing where, because of things that you found in the game, then when in real life you'd find one of the little cactus things and a little chocobo on your thing.
Cool.
And you'd just find them. It was just cute little touches. But yeah, I don't know why they did that, but it was fun.
It was fun.
And I've got a chocobo mount if I ever want one.
Which you always do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, believe it or not, we still have one thing to talk about, and that is a subject that I know is very dear to your heart, Ellen. The subject of
hang on. Before hold that thought. Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit in the gameplay. So at the very beginning of the battle gameplay that I showed, like you see me with a wolf.
Yes. Oh, and your wolf dies.
Because my wolf sadly dies in the battle. But in both Origins and in Odyssey, you have the option to add, like, to tame wild animals. In Origins, you can kind of like sneak up on them, I think, and then in Odyssey, you have to knock them out with a special arrow first, or get them near death.
Cool.
And then do it. But in one of the screenshots, right, there seems to be that you might have a wolf friend anyway. Because in one of the collector's packs imagery, it shows, if I can find
I've got the screenshot you're referring to up, by the way.
Yeah, where it's basically you can see that there's like an add-on pack, and there's like a wolf.
Oh, I don't have that one up. I have the screenshot that you're referring. The other.
You've got the other one that I'm about to. Yeah. You're ahead of me. You're way ahead of me. But there's one where in the collector's pack pictures.
Somewhere in this one. No, this isn't something.
It's the Ultimate Edition.
Oh boy, the Ultimate Edition.
Edition. And now in this image, it says there's a Berserker gear pack. There's a whole bunch of here that kind of like hints at what you might be able to do in the game. So like you've got a different skins, it looks like, for your bird, perhaps. It's different axes, a different shield. Also, there's a doggy there. Little wolfy doggo.
Okay.
Is that a skin? Or is that a companion pet? So that's possibility. That's a possibility that you might just have companion pets. This is the Ultimate Edition, includes in the Ultimate Pack. And then there's also the Berserker settlement pack, so I think there's a bit of settlement building as well, which is intriguing.
Nice. We're looking at it now, by the way. We've got the Ultimate Pack up. Yeah. That definitely implies animal companionship. There. Is that what we're working towards here?
That's what I'm hopefully working towards. But there's another image which I believe that you have ready. So there's this lovely village here, little boat there, little fishies. all hanging up, drying out in the lovely sunshine. Little castle on the hill, little kind of like fort on the hill. And here, like by this little pier thing, there's a little cat.
Oh, yeah, bottom left. Hard to see. Hard to see. Full screen.
Because it's a good camouflage. Because I don't believe that this is any normal kind of cat. See, we're in like north of England, near Scotland. There's a little animal called a Scottish wildcat. Some of you who watch our D&D might know the little wildcat is Merylwen, my character. It's her wild shape because her friend Simon, her little kitty friend Simon, was a wildcat, and I believe this is a wildcat because in that time there were way more wildcats roaming the British countryside. It wasn't Britain then, but
before
you know
we
what
fought
I mean.
them back.
Yeah, and before we got rid of all the cats. And if you look closely at this cat, the tail, this is what makes me think it's a wildcat rather than a domesticated one. The tail is very thick with the thick black stripes on it, and that is a hint that it's a wildcat. So
I'm enjoying the depths of wild speculation here, Ellen, because you have identified in this one screenshot that there's a cat there. I want it to happen for you because I know how happy.
I want a cat. I want Merylwen to be a Viking.
a cat companion would be amazing.
I want to befriend the cat.
What if all this screenshot tells us is that there's like killable cats that you can get their pelts or something?
I mean, you will probably have to murder them. All of the animals that you can tame, you can also murder. So there might also be some horrible thing where, like in Red Dead Redemption, when you like kill all the bison, it was in a recent Xbox.
Yeah, maybe you could make wildcats extinct. That would be fun. That's the gameplay that people are crying out for.
There's a lot of different animals that were around then, like wolves and things. So like same with like in Odyssey, how there aren't really many wolves in Greece anymore, but there were loads in Odyssey. So you'll be seeing animals that were around.
Well, let us know in the chat if you think that the cat in this screenshot suggests that you are going to have a permanent cat companion in the game.
I want a cat friend. I want a cat friend. I want
you to have a cat friend as well, Ellen. And who knows?
I want the ability to be able to pet the cats, because they took that away and there were no cats in Odyssey, and you couldn't even pet any of the animals, which hurt my soul.
Pet/skin.
That's just petting really hard.
Real hard. Okay, all right, Ellen, have you got all the cats out your system?
Yes, I'm good. I'm just taking a swig from my hidden blade
you're so
mug
on brand.
and calming.
So on brand today.
Yeah, I'm so on brand.
Okay, let's move on to our final discussion topic, which is multiplayer.
Please.
Oh, I still stunned him. Oh, good. That's fortunate. And he's running past me and stab. And if you saw, as he was running up to me, the thing went bigger and bigger. Then it took up the whole circle. And was very bright, and that guy's trying to kill me as well.
We're back. Ellen, you've changed in the time that we've come back.
I am now an assassin.
Ellen, you look less like an assassin and more like you're doing penguin cosplay or something. This looks like a Pingu onesie. That's...
No, it's an assassin.
Yeah, well, an assassin might have to infiltrate some penguins in order, for example, to assassinate the Emperor Penguin. Right, Ellen, you insisted that we talk about multiplayer.
Well.
And I'm right there with you, because I have not played every Assassin's Creed game, but I sure did play one that had multiplayer, and I think it was Brotherhood.
That's where it was introduced.
And it was real good.
It was so good. It was hide and seek, but you stabbed people.
So explain how multiplayer in Assassin's Creed used to work before they got rid of it, and then we'll move on to why it should come back. But how did it work? What are we looking at on screen now? What's happening?
So the basic type of gameplay, your base level Assassin's Creed Online multiplayer game was there were about eight or so of you in a room, in a session, and you'd be wandering around, and you'd each be a different character, and then you'd be wandering around a world that had a bunch of people who looked like you, the same character NPC. So you know how you go into an NPC, like walk through a world, and there's a bunch of NPCs who kind of look the same. It's like that, but this is part of the mechanic of the game rather than the game trying not to have to paint a million different people.
So you're walking around and you can't tell who's another player and who's an NPC.
You have to pretend to be an NPC as well as possible, which is why this is the best multiplayer online ever, in my opinion, because you don't have to think of you can just pretend that there aren't other people playing. You can pretend that it's just NPCs.
Sure.
Because I find that sometimes when you're playing online multiplayer, the worst thing is the fact that it's an online multiplayer. And that there's other people, but no, it's great. It's basically who can pretend to be an NPC the best, and you are given a target, so you have to find one of the other people. You have to work out of all of the people in the crowd which one is the model, which model is the one that you have to kill, and at the same time though, you've got someone after you, and if they try and kill you, you have to be quick enough to stun them and stop them from murdering you. So like that, you've still got a chance. Like you can either stop them just before they kill you, and you still die, but they get half the points, or you stun them and leg it, and then they lose you as a target and you get points. But all the time you like that, like different, like doing that will out you as a player character, and there's all these different elements, and it's just about being as sneaky as possible. One of my favorite ones was basically you were put into two teams of the hunters and the hunted, and it was basically hide and seek. And it was sort of like, because yesterday during the drawing live stream, there was a little bit of like people in the chat going, "Oh, battle royale," and I was kind of like, well, there was already sort of a battle royale mode in the original multiplayer, but it was just on a much smaller scale, and it was just like basically as your team got found, it was like they became people that had to find you, and it was like the last person standing sort of thing. And it's just so much fun. You had all different gadgets at your disposal. You had smoke bombs, you had throwing knives to slow down your target if they realized who you were and ran away, and you always had an option to be like, okay, I'm just going to back off and like hopefully I'll forget where I am. You had a lot of verticality. They were quite small maps, and they were different places all around the Mediterranean as well. So there was one that I got really excited about once, where it was Alhambra, which is this lovely Moorish palace in Spain. And I was running around this map and I was like, I recognize this. And it was because I'd been there in real life, and that was really cool. But it's set up as this Abstergo training thing. So you are like, in terms of like the future setting, you're a Templar Abstergo worker who's learning the skills of the assassins.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the reason why you're going around and murdering people. But yeah, it was always like every match was different, and I felt like it was one of those multiplayer modes that was easy to learn, hard to master, and it meant that it's not like there's so many multiplayer games where you join a match, and if someone's been playing it for like a week longer than you, let alone like a month or a year, like if you don't get in on the first week of Call of Duty, you're already miles behind everyone else. They've already got the better weapons than you. You spawn, you die immediately. I feel like there's a real like window of time for you to have any opportunity to get good in a Call of Duty game and be on the same level of a lot of people. Assassin's Creed didn't have that problem.
I'm all for games. I'm all for more multiplayer games that don't have that don't rely on insanely good Twitch responses, basically, like that you can play at a slightly slower pace, and that don't punish, as you say, don't punish newer players, and also just multiplayer modes that are a bit odd and creative, and you know, like a little bit aside from a kind of deathmatch capture the flag sort of thing. How, I mean, if they brought this back, I mean, I don't know anything about game development. I'm sure it's way more good, but like it doesn't look stupidly ambitious like what I'm looking at now, this kind of game mode to build and to host.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it would just be like take pockets. I mean, I'm not saying it'd be so easy. Not like it won't be so easy. I understand that game development is hard.
It's not like we're saying make it, you know, make it an MMORPG or something like that.
No, and it's not like Tomb Raider had a multiplayer for whatever reason that they had to do a load of stuff on, and I was like, why? Whereas this, it's literally you have the ways to kill people, the ways to defend yourself, and some smoke bombs and things that you use in the game anyway. And I think, like, just give yourself like a corner of a map, like just pick out little pockets of the maps and just be like, you're all in this village now, you all have to work out how to get around and get through. And I just want it to come back. I missed it. I went online actually last night to try and play the Black Flag version, because it's sort of been my hope to do a live stream where I play the multiplayer.
Are those servers still up?
The servers are still up, but there's just no one on them.
Oh wow!
And I went into like three different. I joined into like 3 different games where there's like one person.
Come on, folks. Jump into Black Flag for old time. Put down the Fortnite and the Tetris 99.
And it's annoying because like I got to the level cap in Brotherhood Revelations and 3.
Yeah.
But in Black Flag, I missed that game completely because I didn't have the money to buy it. And so I was like, right, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to try. I can like maybe level up in it. No, can't play it. But I did get some nice tutorial footage. And it was just like, here's what you could play. And they'd also done it as well because in Black Flag, you were supposed to be working for like a gaming company. They did this amazing cutscene right at the beginning where there's this guy going, hey everyone, I'm here and we're just going to be like, and he's got like this Abstergo polo shirt on, and it's really like Ubisoft really having a go at themselves. Like Ubisoft really know how to take shots at themselves. It's like how in Watch Dogs 2, one of the missions is you have to steal information on a Ubisoft game so that you can leak it. So like Ubisoft are very self-aware like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to run around as like a cool character and like sneakily murder some things. And I think this would also be a nice way for people who miss the original Assassin's Creed games to still get like that initial, like that pure stealth gameplay.
That's a good point. Yep, very true. Okay, well, Ellen, I think amazingly, I think that might actually bring us to the end of everything that we have to discuss.
Oh wow!
Terrifyingly.
Should we see what people have been saying in the chat for the last?
Let's check in. Let's check in with the chat. See what's.
But yeah. Do you agree with us?
Just for the end.
What do you think?
Well, I think do you agree with us is too broad a question because we've talked about so much. All right, let's just say this. Let us know in the chat. Are you hyped for Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Yes or no? Just give me the one word, and we'll take a sort of it's a bit tricky, Riz, because like, well, no, you know what? Let's just go with that. That's not exactly a perfect test, is it, of anticipation? But let's just see what folks think. I'm excited for it. I enjoyed the last Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
the last few.
Origins. I when I saw the changes, I was like, "Oh, is it going to be still Assassin's Creed?" But having played it, I felt like an assassin in it. Oh, one really cool thing. Is the hidden blade in the new one.
Oh yeah, one on the outside.
On the outside. So I have my Ezio hidden blade mug here. It's on the inside. Because I saw someone in.
Makes way more sense to put it on the outside. Much less chance that you're going to slice off your own fingers.
Yeah, because someone in the chat in the stream yesterday
Everyone's hyped, by the way. Just sidebar, like I don't think I've seen. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. I don't think I've seen anyone saying like no, they're not excited.
No, everyone's quite excited,
hyped, which is great.
But in the chat of the official stream yesterday, someone was like, "Oh, there's no hidden blade because the finger isn't cut off," and so like, because time-wise, that would make sense because the whole hidden blade not cutting your finger off didn't come in until Ezio, I believe, in the Assassin's Creed timeline. But like that explains it away. That it wouldn't cut off your finger if it's there.
Yeah, Ezio should have said like, "Why the hell don't we just turn it round?"
Well, it's because the Vikings didn't have to hide it.
Of course. I forgot that there would be a reasonable explanation. Jason McDowell says, yes does not seem like strong enough of a reply. Blue Frodo says, yes. Mew Aurora says, hell yes, it's the only game I'm looking forward to. Yes, of course. Yes. Visible Wizard says, one could say, hella excited. BP Phantom says, I'm glad that new Assassin's Creed exists, but if it's more Odyssey, I'm passing on it. Shrug, just not my thing. Fair enough. Yeah, generally I think people seem like they're really keen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My one thing is I don't want it to be too huge because I love Odyssey, but it is quite scary to like start playing that game.
It's a bit of a commitment,
isn't it? Because you hear the people say, oh, I've spent like hundreds of hours in this game and I've still not finished. And sometimes you think that's great because if you spend a lot of money on a video game and you get a lot of time out of it, great. But sometimes you're like, I just want to be able to finish it. Like, I want to know what happens at the end.
I love all kinds of video games as long as they're good, but it's a very different prospect, isn't it? Like, here I go beginning this 60-hour RPG versus here I go starting this 15-hour single-player, like, tightly written campaign where I'm not going to have to think about skill trees very much. It might, I think it's a harder sell, but then who knows? I mean, everyone loves Vikings, right? Like, I think the setting they've chosen, I think is going to be a lot. It's going to have way broader appeal than ancient Greece or ancient Egypt did. I'm amazed it's taken them this long. It seems so obvious in retrospect. Folks love Vikings, that whole aesthetic, you know. I feel like I feel like it's theirs to lose, you know what I mean? Like they might screw it up, but it's theirs to do you know what I mean? It's theirs to screw up. I feel like I'm cautiously optimistic.
I think there's a lot of cool stuff that we could get out of that. Especially Wildcats. So
Ellen, you know what? No,
like, who am I? Didn't hear the noise when I first saw that screenshot and properly looked and was like,
who am I to naysay about the likelihood of a permanent animal companion? Look, they did a crossover with Final Fantasy. They could do one with Thundercats.
They did. Well, also, I had Thundercats, little Thor hammer. Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Mjolnir.
Okay, right. I'm ending the stream now.
No. Fun fact.
Yeah.
When I visited Montreal.
Yeah.
The people working there were like, "Oh, you're the cat lady."
Right.
Because they'd seen the Let's Play of Jane and I at E3 when we were just like 90% making fuss of cats.
Where you were hyped about stroking the cats.
Yeah. And then when I went to the Assassin's Creed Odyssey secret reveal event, this was before E3 when we were lucky enough to get a sneak peek.
Yeah.
One of the Montreal team was there who I'd met, and he in this fantastic French accent was like, "I'm really sorry that we don't have the kitties." Because they didn't have cats in Odyssey, and I was like, what? So I got like a personal apology from Ubisoft that there weren't cats in Odyssey.
Well, I think a public apology would have been more fitting. Where were the cats?
Well, I think this is a public apology. This little wildcat is a public apology.
Oh boy, Ellen, you are so optimistic about the meaning and relevance of this one cat in the corner of this one screenshot.
They watched the D&D, they heard me say Scottish wildcat, and they were like, We'll do it in Vikings. This is just
now. Look, I don't want to do down the influence that Ellen Rose and Outside Xtra have over the direction of Assassin's Creed. I suppose we'll see. Right. Okay. I think that really is all we have time for. We have to get off the airwaves. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This was really fun. The game looks really cool. I'm sure we will be finding out loads more in the coming weeks and months. I know that Outside Xbox are keen to be covering this game as well, so look out for more from them. In fact, what day is it? It's Thursday, right? There's an Outside Xbox video up. Let's find a link to it. Here we go. Yeah. I've been looking forward to this one. 7 villains who went to the wrong game by accident.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
That's a good one. All right. I'm popping a link to that in the chat right now. Go check out that video. It is going to be really fun. Oh, look. There's the Oxbox just put a link in as well. I'll put it in also. Oxbox link. Right. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We've never really done a live stream of this ilk, but it was really, really fun. And I thought it was a great way to discuss the game right after the announcement. So yeah, really fun. I'm sure we'll be doing it again in the future. Thanks so much. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing your wisdom and enthusiasm.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining.
And like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.